Welcome back to My Hero Academia Anime Review. This is episode number 18. This is reviewing the 58th episode of the anime, which is called Special Episode Save the World with Love. And the 195th chapter of the manga, Clash. Class A versus Class B. First, let's talk about this filler episode. Okay. Now, there was an article released a few days ago of why in the world they decided to do a filler episode now, even though we're in the middle of a big epic story arc. The reason why is because Japan is running a charity event. Yeah, that is literally the only reason why they do this. And this episode, big thing of this one is about love. Basically, instead of having the whole cast of the whole class in one episode, it's a small handful of people. It's just Deku, Ukawa, Froppy, Bakuto, Ingenium, and Froppy. Yep, that's it. Just these 5 people. And they're taking special classes during summertime. From what I've heard, this kind of takes place before the events of, well, the current season, anyways. It kind of does, even though this particular thing kind of spoils some stuff, but yeah, mostly what Bakuto does. Now, Bakuto is the only one who actually uses his quirk the whole episode. Yeah, he's the only one. Does anybody else use their quirk? I think Froppy uses it briefly once. Aside from that, oh yeah, and also Urukawa uses her power. Deku does not use this power at all. And pretty much their job to do is this. Okay, the case they're on is that a villain has barricaded himself inside a jewelry store and taking 3 people hostage. Who are the 3 people taken hostage? Why, I think it's like Cementus, I think his name is. Midnight and Present Mike, but they took off his little boombox thing he has around his neck. And who's the villain? Why, it's freaking All Might. Yep, All Might. Yeah. And they deduce, and when he's like, yeah, apparently, in order to distract and figure out like how many villains there are, like before they found out who he was in there. Yeah, Deku comes with the interesting idea of having, well, telling Orikuru basically to float up and use her right hand to tell how many hostages there are, and the left hand for how many villains there are. 3 hostages, 1 villain. And of course, oh yeah, also Shudo is one of them too. And Shudo is the one who actually calls out the villain. Who is All Might, by the way. Yeah, and he spends the whole episode most of the form. But here's something I thought was really neat about this episode, is that at the beginning of the episode, before the episode even officially starts, we have this sort of thing we usually see like for like OVA, for like little shorts, usually like usually end of episodes. It's just All Might and Deku just talking about the fact that this episode is, well, just taking the place of, well, just for 1 week of the current arc doing right now. And of course they bookend it with the end of the episode. And pretty much the prelude of this episode before they get to the whole special class stuff, that in the epilogue for this episode is basically a setup for the My Hero Academia film that's actually going to release here in the United States later on next month. Yes, a very limited release for about a couple weeks, which I'm looking forward to seeing that. And hopefully, Funimation now. I think Funimation did get the rights to dub. I think they got a license to dub the film. Hopefully, they get the film dubbed, because I would love to see the film dubbed, and it's quite nice. I'll talk about that in a minute, but yeah. And the way they figure out the whole thing of, and when they break into the store, of course, Bakuto's the one who actually sort of, well, barges right in because he's, well, crazy. And even though he didn't use that big of a blast, yeah, it looks like the villain kills himself. He really didn't, because Frappa used her hair to tickle All Might's nose. I thought that was so funny. The fact that she actually, yeah, I thought that was so hilarious. Oh yeah, and there's this thing that she does because she's part frog. She has to say ribbit. I don't have a problem with this because it's part of her quirk. Yeah. She says it about 4 or 5 times in the episode. And here's the thing, Deku was the one who deuces like the whole entire scenario, and it turns out he's actually correct, but they actually failed the exam due to the fact that Villain got away. Because it turns out, nope, he didn't kill himself. Yeah, he's supposedly, he supposedly was killed, and they expected 3 hostages, but nope, the hostages had nothing to do with it. And it turns out the Midnight, posing as a hostage, apparently she was in love with the villain and stuff like that. And I thought it was just so funny. They actually went through Midnight's purse, where they say full of credit cards. Well, she's a woman, so why not have her have credit cards? It's nothing unusual for her to have that. I thought that was so funny. The fact that it was Deku going through her purse. Yeah, I think it was Deku, and of course, actually going through her wallet, along with Smithy and President Mike. Of course, President Mike himself actually he just sings the whole time while trying to explain the whole scenario, what happened in the jewelry store. The episode overall was really good. I love the setup they have for the film, where they do a flashback of Dave Shield, who was no friend of All Might's when he was younger. People know it's younger All Might because you can see his eyes. Yeah, because the president, his eyes are black. I don't think the series has ever explained that. Yeah, that's the thing about All Might. They never explain that about him. Or the fact how he or the reasoning why he does why he has to have the muscular form instead of have the skinny, weak form. Yeah, there's not much about All Might's been revealed over the course of the series. Plus, I love the fact that there's this little girl, Melissa Shield, who's the daughter of his old friend, Dave Shield, and she first name was Uncle Might. Probably because her father and him basically good friends. And I wouldn't be surprised if Dave named All Might... asked All Might to be her godfather. I wouldn't be surprised about that. This overall was a really good episode. Not much action, surprisingly. It's all about basically mostly the story, some flashbacks. Yeah, and definitely next episode is going to resume the whole arc of. Excuse me. Yeah, it's going to resume the whole entire arc of the Provisional Heroes License Exam. Okay, now let's talk about the newest chapter of the manga. First starts off with Shuzro, I think his name is, where he's apparently become All Might's protege, and he has joined UA, despite the fact he's part of a different school before. So basically, even though he's there just to learn, not to make friends. Okay, fine. That's what he says. It's like, use my quirks to help others. That's why I think his quirk is basically him, whenever people ask him a question, he'll answer it. I sort of manipulate their memories. Okay. Yeah, then we see, I think it's supposed to be, actually, I don't know who these two are supposed to be. But then we see Midnight and All Might just walking through a building. Then we see, looks like it's Joyce, Earjack, and Crazy just, preparing for what this clash is supposed to be. Yeah, and they cast lots to figure out which team is going to go which ones. For Class B, we have Ebra, Josro, Hira, and they're taking on Hardin, the electricity guy, Froppy, and the guy who eats sugar. Team 2, I don't recognize, I don't remember who these characters are. And they're taking on Crazy, the guy who can shoot a laser out of his belly button, and Dark Shadow. Team 3 is the other Hardin guy. I don't really remember this guy's name. Plus a couple from his class against Shudo, the guy with a tail, Ingenium, and the guy who transforms his arms into various parts of his body. And of course, we see Team 4, comprised of more students of Class 1A, taking on Earjack, Bakudo, Tape Guy, and I don't remember this guy's name. Yeah, it's the guy standing next to Tape Guy. I don't really remember this guy's name. Because you can't exactly remember every single character's name. And Team 5 showing them off, and their team and Team from Team Class A, it's Popoff, Pinky, Gravity, and Deku, which is nice. Yeah, and of course they set the field out, and it says start. Basically, they're acting in teams trying to take the other team out. Yeah, and of course there's some skirmishes going on. As they explain with these, the guy with the bee sting, yeah, is Johto. Yeah, they show him off. Yeah, and they show up like one team fighting, the first round. Yeah, one of the characters kind of reminds me of Stain. Yeah, it's Haru Run, basically the way he smiles. Yeah, the way the artist draws him, he kind of reminds me of the Hero Killer Stain. Yeah, it kind of looks like in the way he smiles. So yeah, they start the battle. Frappu climbs on the wall, and of course they go searching for their team. They apparently find him. Oh yeah, the other guy. I thought it was a Sweet Guy. Sweet Guy is actually the one who dresses in yellow. So this is the guy who can talk to animals. Yeah, of course, Harding Guy's like says, I can't really get behind the idea of ganging up on a girl, but, and of course, the guy basically starts attacking him, and of course they show up at what his quirk can do, and pretty much that's what the last few pages do, just show off them taking him on, and then you have Shotaro basically talking with the guy with the tail's voice, says, artificial voice chords, persona code, brainwashing complete. Okay, this was an interesting chapter. I'm a little surprised they brought this character back in the last chapter. Yeah, it had been a while since I've seen this guy. The last time he physically showed up in the manga, and of course in the anime, was during the UA Culture Festival. Well, the sports festival. That was the last special time we saw this guy, and we never saw this guy ever again until this very arc. Yeah, it's interesting they brought this guy back, despite the fact his power is literally, I mean, if you think of it, he's kind of like this world's version of the Purple Man, where his voice can manipulate people to do whatever the heck he wants. So essentially put, he's the Purple Man of this world. Yeah, and he has the same type of personality. Yep. Well, very similar personality, but at least he doesn't look like him. Yeah. But yeah, that's really it for this particular review. I thought maybe this particular chapter they might, well, have a little focus on what's going on with Deku and with Deku and All Might, with the investigation, what happened with the first host of the All Might of the One for All Spark. But no, we're gonna put that on hold for this, well, this clash between two classes. Okay, this should be interesting. I'm hoping that this doesn't last too long, because I'm kind of interested in what's going on with the history of the Spark. I really would love for this quirk to get a little bit more explained. My personal guess is they're probably going to save it for chapter 200, which is going to come out in just 5 weeks. Which I wouldn't be surprised if somehow, if the series once again decides to take a 1 week off break. Yeah, that's one thing the series has in common with One Piece. Yeah, every like 4 chapters we take a 1 week break. Except they'll announce it like One Piece does. Or whenever Hunter x Hunter does theirs. Now this is interesting though, that 2 mangas are reaching 2 really big numbers. Or they reach, or they're going to reach big numbers. I mean, One Piece just recently, as of about 3 months ago, reached chapter 900. This series is almost at chapter 200. Yeah. And this series is only publishing for about 4 years now. I only started this series I think it was just back in March. Yeah, I only started this series back in March. And I caught up with this series pretty quickly. Due to checking out stuff in the library, and of course, buying the actual Volume 12, reading the rest of chapters in line. Yep. Excuse me. So I love the series so far, and it's my personal favorites of the animes so far I watch. There's not been an anime I've watched so far, of all the animes I've done reviews for, that I particularly don't like. Or I just don't like the series. But this one was recommended to me heavily by about three people who recommended this to me. So recommendation like, okay, fine, I'll check it out. I love it. I really do. Okay, so that's it for this particular review. Stay tuned for 2 more videos I still plan to do today. I'm probably going to do a little bit later because I'm dinner ready soon. So I'm going to have 2 comic corners come up later on today. Yeah, but until I see you next review, bye.